Look at all those cute sheep. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's talking to me. He has a Wikipedia page. Like, he's so big in the field. Okay, I'm right now just trying to figure out what the heck my phone is doing because of the clip that I have. It's kind of like right on one of the power buttons, so whoops. But also, this is the best way so it doesn't like fully tilt like I had the problem like last year. And I know, got the light. I have to use what I have honestly here, but I thought I would do my makeup today, and in this case it is also kind of going over what all I've been doing this year because like I was recording off and on, but thought I'd talk about it a bit more. First things first, we're going to start off with the eyes as always. This year started off in January. I mostly was doing a lot of distillery tours every weekend. I had at points recordings of them, but I did not like usually show it all. I never actually edited them. So of the distilleries I went to like a lot. I've gone to, y'all saw me go to Angel's Envy, but I also ended up going to Heaven Hill for a tasting. They only do a tasting. There was also Jim Beam. I was able to go on a tour of there. I then proceeded to go to Log Still, and then the last one I went to was, Maker's Mark. I went to Maker's Mark because Maker's Mark, it's kind of trippy going there, and the fact that they have like, it's like a full-on farm. Like there are sheep on the property, like it's right there. I think I still saved that photo. So that was kind of crazy to see. They never explained why they had, sheep on the farm. But yeah, generally though, January, I will acknowledge, I was just having a go of it. Like seasonal depression or whatever was hitting hard. So do I have a style? Maybe. Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'll see how it looks tomorrow. Probably not the best way of doing things, but that's how it's going. But yeah, I went to all of those distilleries and they were pretty good. I did enjoy going to them. It was just like getting to try new places, and those were a lot of the bigger names, and that was in that was west of Lexington in mostly Bardstown area, which Bardstown is the bourbon capital of the world. I also at one point did try to go to Wild Turkey, at least for tasting, because they aren't doing tours last I'd seen. I haven't looked back since, but they have not recently been doing tours. So I tried to go there to do a tasting, and the bar was closed when I got there. They didn't have on their website like, oh, things close early compared to the gift shop. So that annoyed me, and I've yet to go back. I know I should at some point, but I already got the stamp, so that's all that really matters to me. Also, I'm trying out my like Garnet. If I'm talking about January, it works well because Garnets are January. Also, my birthday is in January, and I do own a lot of Garnets actually. And by a lot, I own like 6, because I've got 3 in my grad ring, and then a few. I've got a pair of stud earrings that are Garnets and a necklace. And most of them, the necklace and the earrings are pear cut. That seems to be a big one they will do for Garnet. Also, they're all like different colors because the necklace I was given as like as a baby. The earrings I picked up were like last year, and the grad ring I picked up for my 22nd birthday actually. I didn't have anything else really happening in January. I just kind of was living. I was doing whatever work I needed to get done, and that was about it. Then in February, one of the big things, and this had actually been my Christmas/birthday gift to myself, was I got tickets to go see the Cincinnati Ballet perform Alice in Wonderland, and it was amazing. And I had like pretty good seats. They were not like the most expensive seats, but they were nicer seats. Like that was how I was treating myself for my birthday. And in this case, it was like a beautiful performance. I think it was like one of the first or second nights there. And I was in like a pretty blue dress. Like here's the photo of me at the performance. And I just was so excited because I had actually way back in the day, I've done the 2 summer intensives I ever did that were like sleepaway summer intensives were with the Cincinnati Ballet. Part of the reason I had chosen Cincinnati Ballet at the time was because my family that lives here in Kentucky, at the time they were living up in northern Kentucky. So I would have been able to at least like fly and stay with them. And actually I did the second time I went, because the first time my mother joined me. The second time I went, I got picked up at the airport from by my grandpa. I stayed at his house. We went over to visit my aunt and uncle, all that. So yeah, being able to see their performance was great. I, of course, was giggling at points when they did kind of a parody of Four Swans. I think the girls sitting next to me were like, what the heck is she doing? And I'm like, they're parodying Four Swans. Of course I'm going to laugh. And like, I mean, Four Swans is also probably the most parodied like piece of ballet just around. So, of course. But so I watched, that was a great performance. It was just a pain to kind of find parking. They told us where possible places to park, but I had to walk like 15 minutes from the parking to the actual theater. I thought the second act was kind of rushed, honestly. That's the one complaint, but that's not on the ballet, that's on the choreographer. And it was like the second version of Alice in Wonderland, because there's another one that is out of the Royal Ballet. This was another one that's from a guy out of PNW, which I've also seen pieces of that choreography too. That was the big thing. And like also I was trying to spend a lot of time with Anna. I think you guys remember her from a couple of my other videos. Yeah, so because she was getting ready to move, so we were doing a lot more activities to go hang out together. And then we hit March. So in March I was finishing up getting stuff ready for TMS, which TMS was actually in March. But also another problem that we had kind of at the end of February, early March, we had a lot of windstorms actually. Like mostly there was very little rain, but it was a lot of like really heavy windstorms. So that was very stressful because parts of Kentucky were didn't have power for like a week. I know my advisor didn't have power for like a week. And a lot of the street traffic lights were down. And that was one of those times where I was like, this is really when we would need like a traffic cop to like actually be controlling the traffic at these major intersections, because having like a major road where maybe there are like 6 lanes total going and like crossing, that is going to be hard to try to do a stop sign sort of situation. Stop signs when it's like a 1 lane or 2 lanes either side of the road, you can kind of make it work, but like large roads were not set up to be stop signs. Then and that was actually the time I went to the Evan Williams experience. Great place, honestly. If you're looking for a bourbon experience that isn't like heavy on the bourbon and more just kind of campy, kind of fun, highly recommend. But yeah, like I mentioned, I was getting ready for TMS. TMS was in San Diego in 2023. And so I actually ended up just flying into my John Wayne Airport, which is like kind of one of the 2 airports that's closest to my parents' house, and drove down from there. So like I got there the day early, because usually with that kind of long trip, and generally with conferences, I prefer to get there the day before, especially, again, if I was doing these cross-country traveling, it gives me a day to kind of recover without it being like, oh my gosh, am I spending personal time? No, I was just not wanting to be jet lagged, especially if it's going from Kentucky to California. But so I went to I flew in, got into Southern California. My parents and I drove down, and the conference was pretty good. I was able to catch up with some of my friends that I'd made at a couple of different conferences actually, and learned a lot. Kind of got curious about some like different research groups that'd be like, ooh, this would be fun to like learn from them. And I actually presented 2 posters instead of a talk or in a poster. I had 2 posters, and in talking with one professor, he was from Caltech. He's an experimentalist, and I actually ended up sitting in on one of his talks later. And that whole experience, there was my like academic grandpa was there. I don't know, I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy's talking to me. He has a Wikipedia page. Like, he's so big in the field. And I'd be like, oh, I'd love to like kind of work in that area. Because his talk was like almost on the history materials, and like talking about this historical part of the materials, and then kind of explaining how we have studied why it does what it does. So that was really cool, because that was Invar, which is a iron nickel combination that does not expand when the temperature changes, It has like an insanely low thermal coefficient of expansion. Coefficient of thermal expansion. That is the actual correct term. But so that was really, really cool to learn about that. But yeah, that conference was pretty good. That was March. May, again, April. I was talking about March and I went straight to May. April was a rough month. More in the fact that like April was a rough month because that was a month that we had to clear out my grandfather's house. So we had been working on it, my mother and I specifically, actually more my mother, had been working on clearing out parts of the house since I moved to Kentucky in 2020. Because my grandfather was in a nursing home. So he was not coming back to that house. And going through that stuff now was going to be a lot easier. Well, they were selling the house because nobody was living close by. My aunt and uncle, who used to live across the street from that house, had moved, so there was nobody to watch it. So in that case, my mother had come down from California, or actually come up from California, and we were doing kind of like the main clear out. I was there also to help her kind of from the get-go, and some of my cousins and my sisters came up also at different points. My mom got in on like a Friday, and then I think on Sunday, one sister came in, and then Monday, the next sister came in, and kind of we staggered it. Actually, no, it was mom gets on Friday, sister gets in on Saturday, other sister got in on Sunday. That's what it is. And also, again, I'm going to pause so I can do my eyeliner. Okay, I'm good. Also, this time I tried to do it with a brown eyeliner that I have because I thought that would be kind of a cute thing. Also, in looking at it, I'm like, ooh, I got to fix my eye makeup a bit. It looks a teensy bit rough. But so we all were there, and it was emotional as we were getting everything finished up, seeing who wanted what, going through things. We had so many trips to Goodwill, which is kind of ironic because one of my cousins was like, oh, we should go send it to like Salvation Army instead because like they're theoretically better, but also Salvation Army is very like homophobic, and this was a gay cousin that I have. So it's like, this is, do you really? But also the fact is that he was not helping in terms of like clearing out the house, so he didn't get a say in like where we were putting things. Because Kentucky just has a crazy amount of Goodwills actually, but no outlet. That was clearing out the house, and it was emotional. And in that time frame, I was able to see my grandfather twice, which the second time was the last time I saw him before he passed away this month. Which I feel bad that I hadn't seen him other times, but also it was always hard to kind of see him because he has dementia, so his memory was going a lot. He could barely hear also, and you'd always have to get him his chocolate milkshake. But yeah, so we had cleared out the house, and it was rough at points, and it also in this whole experience made me really miss my paternal grandfather because he was just such a kind man. And also in this whole experience, I ended up getting another tattoo. Like, so I had this kind of arranged back in like August of 2022 of like initially setting it up. And then I was able to finally get an appointment in April because the tattoo artist had some like health stuff going on. So I built upon a tattoo that I already have because she'd already done the first part, and I was like, okay, we actually want to add a little bit more because it kind of looks like it's small and it just is kind of in a big area, so let's fill it up a bit more. And that was great. I'd gone small because it was on my side, so I didn't know how big to like how I was going to handle the pain. But yeah, I drove down to Tennessee for that, and it was like it was fun to like look around at the places, but I couldn't actually go experience a lot of things. Oof. Yeah, we had the clearing out the house. That was a rough one. I went to like Goodwill like 10 days in a row. In May, honestly, not much happened. Annalisa, who, like I mentioned before, she had come into town because she'd moved to California, but they had still had their lease, so she was finishing out her lease and moving, and like getting the last bit of her stuff so they could have it back in California. We mostly just hung out when we had time, and she crashed at my place like the last couple of nights that she was in Kentucky. Also, I took her to one of my favorite distilleries, who I'd actually been to at first in March, and I had a lot of fun. And then I took her back there because I knew it was a smaller one, so it was going to be easier to go to, but also I just thought she would appreciate it a lot. Because it also has some really fun drinks and everything. It's called Second Sight Spirit Distilling in Ladau, and it is so much fun, honestly. It's kind of quirky. You've got the owners like giving the tour and they used to work for like Cirque du Soleil as like engineers, as like a design engineer and a mechanical engineer, and it's just great. That was one that, like, yeah, we went there. She liked it a lot. It was a great time. And the owner actually remembered me from the last time I was on a tour. So like, yeah, no, this is one of my favorite places. So you really feel like special when you're with them. I keep on looking over and I'm like, ooh, there's portions of this look, and that's partially because my eyes, kind of the lids have two different shapes of it, so I have to hold my eyes in a very specific way. Also, don't get a close-up of the eyeliner, it looks rough, but I honestly, the last time I did my makeup was, God, in October, really. Yeah, I think October, because when I was in during other parts of my year, I just did not have the energy. It was early October, so it's been like 2 months. Also, I went with Mohammed to the Cincinnati Zoo for the bourbon flights, which was super fun, to just like run around, try different bourbons. I didn't find any that I like really liked. I found that I did appreciate New Rip a bit more. I had not liked them the first time I'd had them, but they had, like, that was the first drink of the night, and I thought it was a pretty good bourbon, or like the drink that they made was pretty good. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go back to New Riff again, because everybody talks about how much they like it, and maybe it was just an off day for me and I was just not having it. So I still need to go back at some point. And then in June, y'all saw most of June, nothing really happened. The big problem had just been the fact that, like, my advisor was out of town for most of it. So I was just kind of left to my own devices, and I was at a weird time to be left to my own devices. It wasn't like I had a bunch of like ongoing projects really. I did have fun going to Pride, Lexington Pride. So that's a good thing. But that was pretty much it for June. And July, I honestly think I was just doing work. I know I went to Four Roses at one point because they had like kind of a new tour, or what I thought was a new tour. Turns out it was the same tour, but you got extra drinks. I was like, oh, I wanted there to be more, like maybe more of a history, or we got to go check out new things, but no, it was all the same. And I was like, really? Okay. August, the big thing happened at the end of August. So at the end of August, my sister was going to a wedding in Chicago. Well, my sister lives in New Orleans, and end of August is kind of the worst time for New Orleans. Like, that is peak hurricane season. Like, if a hurricane is gonna, like, a hurricane can hit most of the year, but like that weekend has the highest likelihood. Like those, like Labor Day weekend and like the weekend before it have like some of the worst issues with hurricanes. So went to, like, she had asked me to come down to watch the dog and watch the house in case of any storm. Ironically though, never actually been in a hurricane. I'm the only one in the family who has never once been in a hurricane, or multiple, so as an adult. So I had no idea. I would have had no idea. And in this case, because we were worried about storms, I drove down because I'd rather have my car than have to try to figure out how to drive my sister's car, which is a stick. So that was a like trip. And the dog is sweet. Like, that's her. She's about 3-4 years old, something like that. Still very energetic, and had a really bad witching hour, and I had not realized like how bad it was, because I thought she was just going to be hyper, but she was whining a lot and like nothing could settle her down. It took a long time, and at one point actually, because I tried to tire her out, I got her overtired, and that caused even more problems, so I had to like step away for like 5 minutes. Yeah, and I also, going down to New Orleans, I drove down in a day, which is about 11 hours. My sister had been like, oh, we haven't gotten any rain or anything. And then the day I'm driving down, we get like a storm going through. And I was like, oh. And that leads into like, because I was there for end of August into September. Like, the day before I left, it rained so much that the streets flooded. Thankfully, my car, which is like a little sedan, was at the highest point, so it did not get flooded out, which had been a big concern I had had. Also, I'm trying to decide if I actually want highlighter in that case, but generally it was a like kind of rough point. And on the drive back, I took it easier. I did it in 2 days instead of 1. But yeah, got to go down to New Orleans, got to see my sister, which was the big thing, because I didn't leave the house really, because I'll be honest, I did not want to deal with New Orleans drivers and New Orleans roads. I'm like, that's not what I'm up for. I'm gonna get my highlighter. After New Orleans in September, I did a lot of things. I went to Oktoberfest in, I think it was Covington. That was the town we were in. So it was a smaller one, but it was fun. I'd never gone to any sort of Oktoberfest. And northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area has a very large German population and like an old German population. So they were really big on Oktoberfest. But yeah, that was a fun one. And then also I went to, Door County, which was so much fun. I went there with Mia, and it was kind of a girls trip because I had not gone on any sort of vacation this summer. So this was when I could just like unplug and just hang out with her. I don't actually have many photos because we had like the disposable film cameras instead, because I thought it would be something fun and different to do. And so I've yet to get those developed, but we did a bunch of things. Like we went to a distillery, we went to Hatch Distillery specifically. We got to see a performance. We went to the Planetary Group had a observation night that while we were there. We did a corn maze. Oh, I had such a good weekend. And then also I did a lot of recruitment stuff for materials engineering, to the point where I had some people thinking I was like a professor. And I'm like, nope, I just am the student of the director of undergraduate studies. But overall, it was a very hectic September. In October, similarly, I went to MS&T in Columbus. So it was an easy drive for me. It's only about 3 hours. And that I did both a talk and a poster, and it was the first time I'd done a talk in like 18 months. But I survived it. I just talked really fast, and the poster was good. But yeah, I get back from MS&T, and about, 10 days later, I was on a plane to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Why Cheyenne, Wyoming? Well, that's where my dad's family lives, and I was going to be doing a general trip, so my dad had asked me to go also visit his mother while I was there, so I did. I had not seen my grandmother in about 2 years at that point. And by this point, she has moved into a assisted living because, she is 92 years old. So for her, like, it gives her a social aspect, as well as in case, like, anything happens, she has somebody there to help her. I stayed with my aunt, who now owns my grandparents' house, so that was good. And I got to see a bunch of my cousins, a bunch of their kids. High school year or teenage years have really hit some of the kids hard, but that's to be expected. And then from there I went to California because my parents were going on a trip. Originally, they were supposed to go to the Middle East. However, they did not go there, so they went on a river cruise. I think I've talked about it a bit. And I was there for about 20 days. Because I got in a little bit early, and their original trip was going to be much longer, but it got shortened because, again, they were now doing a river cruise. I got there, spent time with my parents, dropped them off at the airport, came back, and then like hung out with the dog. The dog wanted so many long walks. I walked like 4 miles like every day because of the dog, because he wants both his evening walk and his morning walk. And it was rough. I got through a lot of audiobooks. That's really what happened. I went through a lot of audiobooks during that whole experience. But got to also go to We22, 23, which was in LA. So I just drove up those days. So those meant I walked like 18,000. I did like 18,000 steps those days. God, it was rough. Because again, I had to walk the dog also. And at We23, I gave a couple of companies my resume, which was great. I also got interviewed by the Army Research Lab. I do work with them on my project. And the person that interviewed me knows that our contacts and was curious, and just kind of, it was a good exchange of like, okay, this is some knowledge for you to have as you're starting to look at jobs. And so I got back early November from my trip. And literally 3 days later, so I got back on like the 9th, I think, 8th or 9th. And then on the 12th, I was back at the airport. to go to Pittsburgh. While I was going to Pittsburgh, I had a different conference that I was presenting a poster at. And this conference was a very small one, like maybe 400 people max. Because like we had only 3 rooms to do stuff, and or 4. I guess 4 theoretically because we had like a break room and all that. But yeah, I was at the conference, and it was a good conference. It was on high entropy alloys. It was a small one. I got to learn a lot and get new ideas for things. But yeah, that was just rough on the body of how much traveling I was doing. And yeah, I did have fun overall though. Oh, that's my HelloFresh. Overall, that was kind of what happened. And then like literally I get back from my trip, and then a week later it's Thanksgiving at my aunt and uncle's, and we do all the fun typical things of like Black Friday shopping and cooking and spending time with family. And that was a good Thanksgiving overall. It was I got to see my cousins. I'd seen one of them back in April, but I hadn't seen the others. And yeah, now it's December, and y'all have been seeing what's happened in December. It's not been great, but like that's how it's been going. Hey, I got everything in one time instead of last year where it was like split up into 2, so that's pretty good. And this is the final look. I don't think it's that bad. I wouldn't say get super close to it, but I think I look relatively good. And it makes me feel human. So that's all I needed this week. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!